Jason said. I'm reserving certain options for repeat
Favorite
offenders.
My favorite.
You, Jason Asano, are a
Well,
tyrant,
version is it?
Belinda
Endless
said,
cave,
as if she
bottomless
wasn't already
pit,
planning to
possible
hoard food
claustrophobic
just in
passages.
case. So Dominion keeps telling me, Jason complained, shaking his head. I hate that guy. Vidal, their Adventure Society liaison, narrowed his eyes and asked Jason a hesitant question. Do you talk with him enough that it comes up a lot? No, but every time I see him or one of his priests, they always smugly imply that he's happy with my progress on the path to iron-fisted autocrat. Because you are,
No hopes,
Belinda said.
No dreams.
How about we shift the
Down
topic to our
the
next
hill
destination?
colony.
Humphrey said. Miss Warnock,
Is
what
that
did you
an
learn in
offer?
the course of investigating the town?
This is bad.
That we should
Really
probably accelerate
bad.
our
Time to
progress
wake up,
and not bother with the towns and villages in this region. Oh, Humphrey said. They don't have a lot to offer us. No, Estella confirmed.
Whoa.
More importantly, we don't have a lot to offer them. From what I learned, they are all in more or less the same state, which is too many people and not enough resources.
Until I wake up.
A lot of places that would normally see minimal damage during the monster surge were wiped out entirely. Between the length and the severity of the surge, many people returned to find entire towns that were leveled to the ground. They were forced to turn around and go back to the fortress towns they had just left, or to other towns that weren't as hard hit. Add that to the refugees from Katiz who fled the city before its destruction, and every place still standing is overflowing with people. They'll need protection from monsters though, right? Taika asked. One thing they aren't short of is adventurers, Rufus said. He, Gary, and Farah had accompanied Estella in her forward scouting. Katiz has a lot of adventurers who are now protecting the fortress towns. I think we all saw the same was true, even at Katiz, Humphrey said. The Adventure Society had supplied no shortage of adventurers, so while they were happy to use us, they weren't desperate for our services. I think they were more appreciative of Jason and Vidal's efforts, frankly. While Jason was playing butcher and/or cook, Vidal had lent his administrative expertise to the logistical efforts of distributing food and resources through the region. Circumstances are similar throughout this region, based on everything I've heard, Estella said. What these places need is more of what Jason and Mr. Lediv were doing. People who can help with resources and logistics,
There
not
must be
combat
someone in charge of this science
specialists.
experiment.
We do have some of
Haven't
that
done any
between us,
science anyone
Humphrey
else.
said. Maybe not enough to be worth the trouble, though. We'd get in the way as much as help. Stella is right, Farah said. The things we can do, those people don't need. We should just hit the road and stay there until we find people who do need a boatload of adventurers. It would be nice to get far enough from Rimmeros that I don't have to be so careful, Jason said. Even with what little I've done here, it wouldn't take that much poking around to put the pieces together. The biggest advantage is that no one cares that much. The people here just want things to get sorted out, with as little extra trouble as possible, Humphrey said. I do have one cunning plan, should I get caught out and need to convince someone I'm not me, Jason said. I may regret asking this, Neil said. But, then don't ask, Humphrey told him. Please don't ask. Okay, now you have to ask, Gary said. I hate this so much, Humphrey grumbled, leaning forward and looking at the floor as he shook his head. Jason, Neil said, what exactly is this cunning plan of yours? I can just tell people I'm my own evil twin. What? Rufus asked, voicing a confusion that was reflected on the group's faces. Another Jason came in, this one with a mustache. He stood next to the original Jason, who took out a bushy fake mustache and affixed it to his top lip. Then both Jasons flung out their arms like they'd just finished a performance and were waiting for applause. I don't get it, Carlos said. This is your shape-shifting familiar, is it not, Master Geller? Is your familiar meant to be evil? He didn't mean literally an evil twin, Travis said. It's a story trope from our world that probably should have been explained for context. Oh, he did a Jason, Clive said. I'm with you now. What do you mean, a Jason? Jason asked. A Jason, Neil explained, is where someone says some nonsense with no expectation that anyone will understand it because the people they're talking to lack the cultural context to be able to. It's oratorial masturbation. Masturbation is kind of my Jason put a hand over Stash's mouth to muffle it, then handed him a biscuit. Stash turned into a mustachioed African swallow and carried it off, flying out a window that turned to mist briefly as he passed through. "Look what you did," Jason scolded Neil. "Stash is a pure and precious boy, and you've tainted his mind with filth." "Lady Peskos," Humphrey said quietly to Corinne, leaning closer to his fellow team leader. "Is your team by any chance accepting applications to join?" "Is this how your team operates?" Corinne asked him. "Yeah, pretty much," Neil said. "I'd call it a standard team meeting," Clive agreed. "How do you get anything done?" Corinne asked. "Dashing heroics?" Jason suggested. "How about we put aside Jason and any idea he's ever had for a moment," Humphrey said, "and return to our actual agenda of determining our next move. Miss Warnock, you've pointed out what we should avoid, but do you have any suggestion for what we should do?" "Actually, yes," Estella said. "I talked with a few Adventure Society officials, and it seems that while their resources are understandably being deployed to the regions worst affected by the monster surge, it's left a minor shortfall of adventurers in areas where the damage was less severe. These areas still need to deal with the monsters left from the surge, though, so the arrival of some temporary assistance would be very welcome." "You're suggesting we skip over the areas in this region swiftly and head straight for lesser affected ones?" Humphrey asked. "It's not out of our way," Estella said. "It just means going past a few towns instead of stopping." "They aren't great places to resupply anyway," Rufus said. "These towns won't have anything to spare unless we start bribing people, and then we're just hurting those who would have gotten what we take." "Not only does this plan avoid the chaotic and overpopulated messes that all the local towns are reported to be," Estella said, "but we'll find locations where your team will be a welcome arrival." "I like it," Jason said. "Let's plot out some new destinations, and I'll give them to Shade." "Jason?" "Yes, Humphrey?" "Take off the fake moustache." "Belinda," Humphrey said, catching her alone on the side deck outside her now stifling cabin. He put up a privacy screen so no one would overhear. He joined her in leaning against the railing, looking out over the river. There was still plenty of other traffic moving supplies between the hard-hit towns. "Is this the part where you give me the serious talk about not stealing things?" Belinda asked wearily, "instead of Jason turning it into a comedy show?" "Yeah," Humphrey said. "This is that part. He always gets to be the fun one." "I suppose you have a speech about how this is hurting me more than the team?" "No, it's definitely going to hurt the team more," Humphrey said. "I get that you're reveling in a freedom that you never thought you would have before becoming an adventurer. But when you and Sophie agreed to join us, that came with a caveat, namely that the consequences of your actions now fall on all of us, not just yourself." "I don't think Sophie ever really wanted to be like me," Belinda said. "She always stood out. I mean, she always looked like she does, but she was far from the only beautiful girl on those streets. It was her attitude that drove creeps like Cole Silver and Lucian Lamprey to obsess over her. She's always had this nobility to her, even under all the crime and the violence. They wanted to tame her like a prize animal, crush that defiance out of her to prove they could." Humphrey bowed his head, saying nothing. "I think she was always meant for someone like you," Belinda continued. "I have a hard time thinking of anyone else good enough to deserve her. Which you don't, by the way, you're just the best we could find." Humphrey turned to look at Belinda with narrowed eyes. "Lindy, are you... It doesn't matter what I am," she said, cutting him off. "Things are the way they are." Humphrey let out a sigh, and they stood together, watching the water go by for a long time. "You've got more speech," Belinda said finally. "I know you do." Humphrey nodded. "You've been stealing things, just to prove you could," he said, Belinda flinching as her own words were used against her. "If you keep doing things like this, it's going to hurt our reputations and get us all demoted. I won't let that happen. But even if I manage to remove you from the team, that would irrevocably break it. We both know that Sophie will leave with you instead of staying with me, even if she disagrees with what you've been doing. It's not that bad." "Not yet," Humphrey said softly. "But if you keep putting fissures in this team, they will widen, until one day it breaks. Clive would go with Jason to whatever his next descent into dimensional absurdity is. I would too. We might be able to rope in Rufus and Farah. We'd need to find a new healer. Neil has had his team break apart on him before, and I suspect that if it happens a second time, he'll give up on adventuring. A good silver rank healer will have plenty of opportunities, especially with the Church of the Healer backing him.
Damn, Belinda said. Stop talking about the team falling apart like it's a set deal.
Ant.
I'm not worried about the team falling apart. I'm worried about it breaking apart. I'm the team leader, Lindy. That means more than just failing to keep Jason on topic in group discussions. It means that I have to look to the future, to the dangers that we can't fight off with swords and magic. Your behavior threatens to become the most existential danger to our team. Maybe not now, but somewhere down the line.
You're overstating it.
Am I? What happens when you play the wrong game at the wrong time on the wrong person? The team gets blowback at a time when we need to be discreet, or what passes for it on this team? What happens when we let what you're doing slide and the thrill isn't there anymore? Are you going to escalate? Bigger jobs, more challenging targets? You could get all our society memberships revoked.
They are never going to pull your or Jason's memberships.
Humphrey's hand came down on the railing hard enough that it broke, turning into mist before reforming back into its original shape. Belinda, listen to yourself. You're talking about the Adventure Society refusing to revoke a third of the team's memberships. Is that what you want it to come to?
Hey, you brought all this up. What about Jason? He's been doing insane stuff since forever.
Jason and and neither of us knew how flimsy our principles were before the winds of practical reality. But since we formed this team, Jason has always kept the team in mind. Yes, he might have some wild ideas, but he's learned to pull back when we tell him he needs to. He trusts us for that. And that's all I'm asking for here, Belinda. Trust us.
I don't know what you expect me to say, Belinda said. Am I meant to break down and admit my mistakes in the face of your wisdom? That's not how it works.
I know, Humphrey said. I just need you to think about things, about your team and what you want your place in it to be. Maybe talk to Arabelle. She knows how to listen without having any personal stake in our team. Belinda gave Humphrey a side glance before returning her eyes to the river.
I'll think about it, she said.
Chapter 36. A Matter of What You Want. The convoy left the river, passing by several towns on their way to the coast. From there, they followed the coast roads for the most part, but they increasingly needed to find alternatives. Compared to the excellent road network maintained by the Storm Kingdom, these were not as wide or well maintained as those to the north. Sometimes their hefty hover yacht needed to float over the rainforest canopy. Other times they would ride along the beach, skim over a bay, or take to the water, running under a shoreline of cliffs. Jason found the variety to be welcome. Their progress was not fast, but if they needed that, they could have simply flown. Jason enjoyed the days of travel as the team interspersed training with the simple joys of luxury travel. They spent large amounts of time on the roof deck for both, especially as they left the monsoon rains behind in their continuing journey south. Jungle and rainforest continued to dominate the terrain, but they escaped the worst of the oppressive humidity. Delays were made for day trips. If they spotted an interesting mountain, they would often pause to climb it. They explored town markets and misty gorges. Even the urbanite Belinda, sullen from her punishment, was unable to keep from enjoying herself. Only Corinne managed to maintain a frown on the leisurely expeditions, muttering traitors and mutiny. The rest of her team were utterly won over by the relaxed approach of Team Biscuit. Towns and villages started welcoming their arrival. Less resource-starved, their main issue was keeping up with remnant surge monsters wandering out of the wilderness. The overworked local adventurers were grateful for the relief that two elite teams brought. After several welcome receptions, Jason and Humphrey were up on the roof deck, watching the latest town seem to shrink as the convoy pulled away. "We're doing all right," Humphrey said. "But the extra monsters from the surge are starting to thin out. We're running into the reason most adventurers find their advancement slowing down after reaching silver. It's harder to find regular challenges, which makes other interests all the more enticing." The teams led by Humphrey and Corinne were having no trouble with the monster packs they encountered, as both teams were elite. Only the most powerful of silver rank monsters posed any real threat, so both groups had started using only parts of their rosters for individual encounters. "You want to change things up?" Jason asked. He too felt the urge to push his abilities forward, and not just because Dawn had told him to. His advancement had been stagnant since long before his return from Earth, and the monster surge had only done so much to help. He'd spent large portions of it in recovery. Jason was conflicted, however, as he was quite enjoying their current pace, traveling around in luxury, helping people who very much needed it. It was the adventuring life Rufus had promised him all the way back in Greenstone, and it didn't disappoint. Humphrey was fully aware of those feelings on Jason's part, making him hesitant to suggest a change. "I don't want to push you," Humphrey said, "but I think we both know what we need to do to find a greater challenge. I know you've been looking forward to this traveling for a long time, though, and I'm not looking to get you caught up in larger messes all over again." "I appreciate that," Jason said, "but I'm also past ready to push my powers to new heights. These contracts for silver rank monsters aren't enough. Only a few of them have posed any real challenge at all. Not enough to go around if we want the team to grow stronger, let alone the other team. But we aren't ready to go hunting gold rank monsters either. Not unless it's a matchup in our favor, and the Adventure Society won't let a group of silver rankers pick and choose gold rank contracts." They were both aware they could likely finagle special treatment by leveraging the Geller name and Jason's unusual status with the Adventure Society, but neither man suggested it. They both wanted to move away from politics and do some good, honest adventuring work. "You know that even if we try and act like any other adventuring team, it probably won't work out that way," Humphrey said. "It never does with you. Once we start taking contracts related to the messengers, this may well escalate." "If it does, it does," Jason said. "We were always going to have to go after the messengers sooner or later. Sooner, really. I need to get something from them. Now that the surge is over, I have a job to do, and it's become more complicated now that I don't have the magic tools from the Builder and the World Phoenix. I need the advanced astral magic from the messengers to finish building the bridge between worlds." "Clive will be happy," Humphrey said. "I'm bringing it up now because there's something in Estella's latest report. She just got back this morning." Estella was taking her job seriously. She spent a lot of time away from the convoy, roaming ahead to investigate their upcoming destinations. She spied potential threats, scouted potential opportunities, and gave an overall assessment of the value of any given stop. Estella delivered an initial report to Humphrey and Corinne before making a broader presentation to the full teams. "Messenger activity?" "Reports of," Humphrey said. "Maybe 2 days out of our way at our current sedate pace. A little way inland in a magic zone at the high silver level. Even discounting the messengers, we should get stronger silver rank monsters there. The occasional gold, although I wouldn't expect us to scoop those contracts up. The locals will get priority there." "What kinds of activity?" Estella didn't get much, since she was working with third-hand information. "There's a small holy army in the area, though. Goddess of Knowledge." "Worth finding out more at the very least," Jason said. "How about I notify the teams for Estella's briefing and we can discuss taking the detour?" "Very well," Humphrey agreed. "Let's go hunt some messengers." Following Estella's presentation, Corinne's team returned to their vehicle while Humphrey's went off to pursue their own activities elsewhere in the yacht. Corinne remained behind in the briefing room to talk with Humphrey. "Do you object to a course that brings us into conflict with the messengers?" Humphrey asked. "No. Given the choice, I'm confident that we would make the same one you have. My only issue is that we weren't given the choice. The thing I like the least in this arrangement is that our team lacks self-determination. We are stuck following you around." "I understand," Humphrey told her. "But while I'm willing to hear you out on any issue, I won't surrender any amount of authority to you and your team. You are ultimately passengers. Passengers we will accommodate as we can, but decline when we can't. Or won't." "Or won't," Humphrey conceded. Farah found the white archway leading to Jason's soul space on the yacht's bridge, beside the door connecting the bridge to Jason's cabin. She stepped through and felt Jason's aura wash over her. It did the same on the yacht, but here it didn't feel like an external force. It was more part of the fabric of the world around her, as inherent as the gravity holding her to the ground. The archway deposited her in an open square, amidst estate buildings centered on a towering pagoda. "You've been spending a lot of time in here lately," she said, despite being alone. "Just when I'm doing my meditation training," Jason said, suddenly standing next to her. When I'm not doing specific exercises because of Amos, anyway. I'm still coming to grips with this place and what I can do with it, and I'm chasing something specific at the moment. Oh? He gestured. She nodded, and they started walking. They left the square and entered the sprawling gardens of Jason's soul space. I've barely touched on what the Astral Throne and the Astral Gate are capable of, he told her. I need more power before I can truly tap into them, especially the Astral Gate. Didn't Dawn tell you to leave the Astral Gate alone for now? And I have been. Mostly. I'm concentrating on the Astral Throne for the moment. I've come to realize that I'm going to need time as much as I need power. There's so much to learn about the nature of these items and what I can do with them.
Do they affect anything outside of this soul space?
Yes, Jason said. My spirit domains, the regions on Earth and anything I make with the Cloud Yacht, are directly affected by not just my power here, but also my understanding. The domains on Earth I manipulated subconsciously. I was able to actively change things, but that was all surface-level alterations.
I'm not sure what you mean.
It means I could change a house, not the laws of thermodynamics.
Is that an option?
I think so. Eventually. When I meditate here, it's like this whole place is meditating. Because it is.
Because it's you.
Exactly. But this place is its own physical reality. Kind of. When I meditate here, my senses expand in a way that reflects that.
Meaning?
That I'm starting to understand physical reality on an intrinsic level. I only recognized it because of all the time I spent in the space opened by the Builder's Door. It was an introduction to how the building blocks of reality work, and I can feel that sometimes when I'm meditating here. I don't know if that's because I used the authority that used to be in the door and affected this place, but the Astral Throne is definitely part of it. It's designed to govern physical reality, after all, compared to the Astral Gate, which governs dimensional forces.
It's not a wild surprise that you can sense the space you accessed with the Builder's Door, is it? Farah asked. You obtained the Astral Throne when the door broke down, right?
Yeah.
Do you think you'd be able to access that underlying physical realm again at some point?
Not out in the world, no. I can glimpse it, but it's not mine to change anymore. I can feel that. What I'm looking for now is more conscious ability to change things on that level here. Right now I have control, but lack understanding. If you think of this place like a car, I know how to drive a car. I need to learn how to build one.
And how are the results so far?
Preliminary. Not enough to make me confident of successfully helping Carlos or Sophie's mother. I'd say the biggest change is in my ability to control constructs from the Cloud Flask. They respond to me by design, and that control has become immensely more refined. I deepened the soul bond with my Cloud Flask, infused it with authority, and turned the material it produces into extensions of my spirit domains. The flask has undergone a fundamental change, in more ways than is readily apparent.
Oh?
Let me change the subject for a moment before I come back to it, Jason said. While I have been focusing on the Astral Throne, the Astral Gate has brought some surprises of its own.
I thought you weren't meant to be messing with that yet. Dawn told you to leave it alone.
Dawn's guidance is valuable, but she's not an astral king. There are some roads she can't guide me down, but it doesn't mean I shouldn't walk them. That being said, I haven't been fiddling around with the Astral Gate. It's just that its power has allowed me to notice something. Bonds.
Bonds?
Magical bonds. I can feel the bonds between myself and my bonded items now. I feel the bonds spanning off into the astral that connect me to my spirit domains on Earth, even if I'm too weak to feel the other end. But these are deliberate bonds. They're strong, firm, and don't disconnect. I've noticed other bonds as well that I suspect have formed incidentally.
Such as?
Such as between you and me. Farah, you and I formed a special bond.
I don't care how powerful you are here, Farah told him. I'm not going to sleep with you.
What? No! I wasn't talking about that. I'd sleep with...
It did always seem like there was something there,
Farah said. I know, right? Jason asked. He's the upright uptown boy and I'm the sassy girl who restores classic cars. He gets talked into borrowing a car from his dad's collection without asking by one of his gadabout friends and gets in a fender bender. I agree to fix it without his dad finding out.
You've put a lot of thought into this.
No.
What's the title of this little story you've got going on?
It Doesn't have a title. This isn't something I think about. Farah gave him a flat look. Humphrey's big engine, he mumbled sheepishly. Farah burst out laughing, and Jason joined her. The path they were on led into a cave, running alongside an underground river. Their way was lit by luminescent fungus and flowers growing out of crevices or on creeper vines. I think the bond between us is a remnant of when you came back to life, he explained. The Reaper somehow bound your soul to mine, but I don't think the bond was intended to last, like string around a delivery package. When our souls entered Earth, that bond broke by design. It's why we didn't arrive in the same place. But the remnants of that bond are there, even now. But the connection is intermittent. Now that I can sense it, I feel it link us sometimes and fall away at others. What does this bond
Hello,
do?
Powerless Ant.
Not a lot, from what I can tell. I've been using the Astral Gate's power to examine it, but I'm even less well versed with that than the Astral Throne. All I've managed to figure out thus far is that I can use the bond to treat you, in terms of my abilities, in a similar way to my familiars. You're saying I'm your familiar? No, Jason said. But it means I can treat you like one in certain respects, while the bond is active. Things like having you use my portals without consuming extra energy beyond what it takes for me to go through. I think it's been going on ever since Earth, but I've only just realized it was happening and why. As for what else the bond can do, that's something we'd have to explore. We could use it for effectively infinite range with my group chat ability. The only limits would be dimensional barriers, although the results would vary by circumstance, I suspect. The same way that Shade can sometimes connect to his other bodies through an astral space boundary, and sometimes not, depending on the specific nature of the astral space. They paused in an underground grotto, sitting on a bench that overlooked an underground pond. You can manipulate this bond? I think that I can restore the bond to full strength, Jason said. Make it permanent. I can also eliminate it entirely. It's a matter of what you want. Farah nodded absently. You know why I'm here, she said. If we're going after messengers, it means that I'm getting down to business, he said, which means it's time for you and Travis to head back to Rimeros and get to your own business. I worry about you, Jason. We've been companions ever since you finished your walkathon on Earth. Walkabout? Whatever. Are you going to be all right without me? He let out a chuckle. I wouldn't have gotten this far without you. Not even close. It's why they sent you to me, and if nothing else, I'll always be grateful to the Reaper and the World Phoenix for that. But I think I'll be okay. It's not just us against the world anymore, and it's past time we stopped acting like it is.
Weevil?
Oh, I'm fine, she said. You're the wobbly one. We're here in your magic god realm and you're still anxious. I'm not anxious! Of course you're not. I'm not! Uh-huh. Chapter 37. Where we end. Farah and Jason emerged from his soul space through the archway located on the bridge. I can kind of feel the bond if I go looking for it, Farah said. It's way more subtle than my power bond ability, though. To be honest, I was expecting more. I know that story, Travis said sadly from the doorway. Women tell me that all the time. Oh, bloke, Jason commiserated. You need to work on that self-confidence. That's never worked for me, Travis said. You may recall the pistol I was trying to use when we met was called the Compensator? That's what it was compensating for, a lack of self-confidence. Not, the other thing. You shouldn't worry about it, Farah told him, jabbing a thumb at Jason. Everyone has their mindset problems. My primary job of the last few years was making sure this guy didn't murder everyone, or refuse to murder anyone, because he was a sad boy. Hey, Jason whined. I was looking for you, Jason, Travis said, giving Farah an odd look. Since you intend to start seriously going after messengers, I have something I've been working on to give you. Huh? Jason asked. All right, come into my cabin. They moved into Jason's cabin, the cloud furniture reconfiguring as they entered. The cloud material flowed and reshaped itself, eliminating the bed and pushing back the lounge area in favor of a round table and chairs.
Iced tea? Jason offered, and the others nodded. He took out a tray and 3 glasses from a cabinet, then a pitcher from a refrigerator that emerged from the wall. What do you have? Jason asked as he sat the tray down and waved the others to seats. Well, Travis began, I know that when you portal us back to Rimmeros, you'll be picking up the designs and materials from House DeVarco to spice up the vehicle forms your Cloud Flask can produce. That's the idea, Jason said. Not sure how much they'll bring to the table, but it can't hurt. I was thinking about supplementing those designs, Travis said. As you know, my specialty is Magitech guns. I can work with any kind of gun or large ordnance, but great big guns are my sweet spot. You're talking about putting some guns on my yacht? Jason asked. I know your cloud house can use magic to replicate complex technology like television screens, Travis said. I also know that you have internal defense systems, but thought that you could benefit from something more externally focused. Didn't you wonder why I was asking all those questions about how your Cloud Flask worked? You mean the 0.003% of the number of questions that Clive asks? After him, a Magic Society interrogator would just seem naturally curious.
Aphid on the move.
The Magic Society has interrogators? Travis asked. It's complicated, Farah said. The interrogators are specialists that are part of the Magic Society, but there are rules against the Magic Society using them. They work for the Adventure Society and civilian authorities, not the Magic Society itself. Liara was using them to try and make the Order of Redeeming Light prisoners talk, Jason said. Having their souls coated in vampire gunk repurposed for hardcore zealotry made them tough nuts to crack, though. Yeah, and I'm not really interested in the whole brainwashed fanatic stuff, Travis said. I'll stick to giant guns and trying to invent the magic phone, thank you very much. How are you going to do that? Jason asked. This world already has a few different forms of distance communication, right? Yeah, Farah said. There's the Waterlink system, but that's complicated, expensive, and requires access to a body of water connected to all the others. Inland lakes that don't feed into an ocean or river anywhere can't support a Waterlink station, for example. Then there's the record systems that the Adventure Society and Magic Society use to keep their records updated across branches. That system is too slow for real-time communication, though. It also can't transmit enough information, Travis said. I looked into it, and while it is used for communication, it's like an inefficient telegram system. It's to the point that most communication that isn't regular record updates are shared through the Waterlink. Our plan, Farah said, is to leverage the bones of that magic and enhance it using Travis's understanding of Magitech. We're taking inspiration from the Earth's magical detection grid to set up relays to extend the range. Magical cell towers, Travis said. Maybe even satellites. Travis took on an expression Jason knew and feared from interactions with Clive. Did you know that each of this world's moons has very different magical levels? Travis asked enthusiastically. I vaguely recall, Jason said. The magic one is called the Mystic Moon, right? Yeah, Travis said. I've been looking into it ever since I started thinking about satellites. It has a weird regulatory effect on the tides of this planet. You know, I keep wondering about that, Jason said. I know, right? Travis said. The tides here are a bit more complex than on Earth, but nowhere near the level they should be with 2 moons. Once Jason and Travis started enthusiastically discussing tidal forces, Farah went to the drinks cabinet and found something to spice up her iced tea. Jason watched her topping up her glass from a liquor bottle and mixing it in with a stirring rod. You don't think it's a little early? He asked. Hey, I'm not the one going off to fight evil, she told him, completely unrepentant. If you don't want to see day drinking, maybe don't make your headquarters a pleasure yacht. That's a fair point, I guess, Jason said, as Farah experimentally sipped at her drink and immediately poured in more booze. Farah and Travis made their farewells on the roof deck. It looks like you found a place for yourself here, bro, Tyka told Travis as he enveloped him into a huge hug. There's not a lot waiting for me back on Earth, Travis said. My family were never entirely reconciled with the choices I made and what that meant for them. I think that maybe it's better for all of us if I'm just gone. If that's what you feel is best, Tyka told him. but Earth is still home for me. I hope you get back, mate. Don't use New Zealand slang. It always sounds wrong in an American accent. Isn't that Australian slang? Do you want a smack, bro? After the more general goodbyes, Farah, Gary, and Rufus gathered together at one end of the deck. So, this is where we end, Rufus said, looking and sounding uncertain. We came together in a town overrun by zombies, fire lighting up the dark, the air filled with ash and smoke. Now we've come to the end, on a magic land boat on a sunny day. Better that than steel and blood, Gary said soberly. Their minds all drifted back to Farah's death in an astral space years earlier, Rufus and Gary helpless to stop it. This way, Gary continued, his voice growing more cheerful. We can still get together and tell stories, have a few drinks, and a few more. Now I find myself wondering why I ever thought I needed adventuring to be able to do that. All it added was the need to kill things and the chance to die. There's the travel, Farah said. You can do that without adventuring, sure, but I don't think I ever would have seen another world without it. The price was high, but here we are, more or less intact. It's a long way from what we expected when Emiya asked us to go to Greenstone, Rufus said. I'm not sure any of us expected to be on the paths we're taking from here. I don't know, Farah said. Gary was always going to be a craftsman, and I've always wanted to do some real magic study in between blowing things up. The only real surprise is you, Ru. You know I don't like it when you call me that, Rufus said. And what do you mean that I'm the surprise? We never imagined you running a training center for adventurers, she said, Gary nodding in agreement. Why would that surprise you? Rufus asked. My family runs a... Oh, God damn it. Farah and Gary both took shot glasses from their dimensional pouches and downed the contents at a gulp. Are you ever going to let that go? Rufus complained. I'd say not until the day I died, Farah said, but even that didn't stop me. Don't worry, Gary said. A couple of centuries from now, when you're dead from old age and your memorial plaque reads, "His family runs a school," we'll be there having a drink. Why am I the first one to die of old age? We just have healthier diets, Gary said. You're constantly eating your body weight in anything warm and dead, Rufus complained. Your idea of salad dressing is anything not worse than mildly poisonous. Exactly, Gary said. I'm robust. You can't argue that's not the case, Farah said to Rufus, who shook his head. Rimmeros in general had excellent defenses, along with tracking systems for any teleportation or similar means of travel. This was even more true on the island of Liveros, and the Adventure Society campus itself had defenses second only to the Royal Sky Island. They were not as obvious, but no less formidable. One of the most magically sophisticated arrays in Rimmeros was a room deep in the Adventure Society campus. Setting up a place where all the defenses and detection of dimensional travel did not take effect was more complex than the defenses themselves. The room was also one of the most secure in the Storm Kingdom, with layers of physical and magical defenses. Various fail-safes could be enacted in emergencies, from collapsing the room to exposing it to all the defenses and tracking it otherwise avoided. Just portaling into the room was tricky, requiring both magical devices and specific rituals. Jason had been supplied with both, allowing his portal arch to appear in the room. The arrival room was an empty cube, with neither doors nor windows, only flat, unbroken surfaces. After stepping out of the arch, Jason recognized the dark metal the room was built from. It secured various underground portions of the Adventure Society campus against intrusion by magic perception. As with the first time he encountered the enclosed feeling, he was tempted to push out with his senses and test how strong the sense suppression was, but he suspected the consequences would not be worth sating his curiosity. The cube room was entirely blank, without any lighting. That didn't bother Jason or Farah, who followed him out with her eyes glowing like embers. Travis pulled out a glowstone and tossed it into the air, but instead of floating and lighting up, it fell to the floor like a normal pebble. Curious, Jason pushed out not his aura sensors, but his magic sensors, paying more attention to the suppressive effects permeating the room. It occurred to him that he should ask Amos about training them as well. Their strength was fine, but their active uses were far less developed than his aura sensors. Jason used his aura as a platform to reach out to the inert glowstone. He suspected that it was not a normal expression of aura projection, as it felt rather like using his aura to produce physical force. Adapting the method he used to disable suppression collars, he pushed back against the suppressive effect of the stone, and it lit up, floating into the air. The moment it did, openings appeared in the wall, turned to liquid, and flowed through the gaps left as it did. This left doorways through which a small army of silver rankers poured through to surround the trio, led by a gold ranker. Each was dressed in practical black, with the crossed sword and rod emblem of the Adventure Society stitched in gold. Jason held up his hands. "We surrender?" he said casually, just before Liara marched in. "Please don't poke at the Society's defenses for fun, Mr. Asano," she told him wearily. "Hey, I was trying to fix a busted glowstone," Jason said. "If the Adventure Society is that afraid